We are welcoming to Yuning Liang from DeepComputing, and he is gonna introduce us in the world of, especially to me, Risk, which is an open source platform. So I would like to ask you if you could introduce yourself briefly, like what do you do and your hobbies?
Okay, so basically, I'm a software guy, but now I'm into a hardware domain. I make RISC-V laptops or PCs, and from with Framework. Framework, the most famous modular laptops or PC manufacturers, and now are responsible for the all RISC-V related motherboards, main board, and for the frameworks. So it is a good fun.
Nice. What was your first experience with software and hardware?
Okay, and the opinions of hardware and software is just like my talk. I talk about chicken and egg issues, right? Software needs hardware needs software, so they have to go together. You can't go one side or the other. So, and now the reason why I start doing RISC-V hardware product and as a software guy, because I'm a compiler guy. We're trying to sell a RISC-V compiler to the chipset, and the chipset guy telling me we can't even sell the chipset. We can't afford to buy a compiler. So that's the reason. Then and software hardware has to go together. So and then I decided to make a RISC-V main board and buy the RISC-V chipset, and so that the chipset manufacturer can buy my compilers. Very simple.
But what I have seen is like you have a laptop board inside a box, and what is that is something else I saw in your laptop, like you can switch parts or decide or prepare yourself. Is something like that?
Yes, and used to be right in when we were kids, we build our own PCs. Now it's so fascinating. You can build our own laptops. So the laptop framework introduced is a modular laptop. So all the design is open source. So people can make a screen for the laptop. People can like us make a RISC-V main board for framework, and you also make all those standard Type-C dongles accessory for frameworks.
So let me clear up. Can I get to that schemes and read how it's built? I'm changing myself.
Yes, well, everything. So the philosophy of framework is just like IKEA, right? We create all the parts, and then and you can get it off and can assemble it all yourself without we spend a lot of money in the Far East assembly lines. Right? That is the purpose of framework. And then it's such an open idea, and it's in line with RISC-V. RISC-V is a free ISA CPU, and then everyone can make a CPU themselves, and also the CPU IP is open source as well. And then one of the contributor is in Spain. You have Barcelona High Performance Research Center to making the CPU open source, and you have some other startup making RISC-V CPU IP open source. That now it's so fascinating, you know, and open hardware, open chipset, and then the open software. Now it's time to go together. That's a great.
So if I find the bug, I can work on it. Nice.
Yeah.
What is moving your and your company to collaborate with open source code?
Okay, and it's just a coincidence. I stay in England for 20 years, and then I moved back to Far East 10 years ago, and then now I'm moving back to Europe. And I used to work for Nokia, and Nokia can make everything themselves in Europe. And by the time I moved back to Europe, and then we suddenly realized that there are a lot of things we can't make it in Europe anymore. Now it's our ambition to make everything back in Europe, and then and including software, hardware, and and use different way, complete different way. Or I just now I say is that and we've been open, and then Spain is Malaga is the the southeast point of Europe, I guess, if I'm not wrong. And I got a very good friends. Back in Xerox, 25 years we know. And he lived in Malaga. I say, why don't you come down Malaga? And then I need to find a good reason. And then suddenly come out with OpenSouthCode. And then initially I said, it's open source code. And then why they call it South? Is it a typo? And then so this might be very special of it. That's the reason I joined. And then I ping ping you, and then you accepted us. And then I say it's so fascinating. It's very different. It's very different from all other event and conference. I enjoy it, and I find it's very young. This town, I find a lot of kids, a lot of university, a lot of students. They're very fascinating about the things we do in open source software and hardware now in the product and chipset. It's really energetic to learn about it.
So we can say that you contribute to open source in such a way, like providing hardware solutions, but also software, right?
Yeah.
What kind of software solutions?
Now,
do
for
you
example, the compiler we make is based on Open64. Open64 is the best compiler before LLVM back in before 2010. You can go onto the Google search about it. All the PLDI papers about compiler optimization is from Open64. And AMD is a high performance compiler, and Cray high performance computing is all using Open64 as a compiler. So, and back in the old day for Intel, Itanium is using Open64. So, and it's a very famous compiler from Stanford and MIPS. So, and that's the part we play in, and we want to contribute back to RISC-V. And that's the purpose of our software now. And software had to go with the hardware. So, and we work closely with all the RISC-V CPU company to make the best out of RISC-V.
I have been working with, I had the opportunity to work with your architecture, and I have to say that the operating system was Ubuntu, which was a surprise for me. How is the relation between DeepComputing and Ubuntu?
Wow, Ubuntu is a great supporter from the operating system industry. They are the first guys support us, and free of charge. And they put in a lot of manpower helping us to do review upstream changes and support our products. And we got all the support from them. That's why most of the time I feel in depth to you Canonical, especially they put in the effort on support Ubuntu our device. Now we move on to the next stages that we hopefully once the chipset upstreaming is done, and then Ubuntu and can build the image for RISC-V exactly the same as x86. That is the goal we together and we work for. Right. That is we have a very deep strategic collaboration with them.
Nice. I would like to make you two more questions. How would you explain what you do in the tweet? I said short.
Okay. In the tweet, it's very simple. We are very open guy, very open source. We support, and we move on to the open hardware and even open chipset, and we hopefully the world gets better being open.
Right. And one last question. Now I want to talk about you. Can you tell me a small detail about your childhood, like what was your favorite toy, or what you like it to break, to open and close, and dismantle? Were you good eating at the table, or were paying on the table?
Okay. Oh, talking about myself, right?
Yes.
And I grew up in China, and then I left China, moved to Hong Kong and to England when I was in high school. And then for myself, when I was a kid, I'm very fragile. I get sick very easy. If somebody punch me, I get sick. I stay in the hospital for a few days. And then I used to go to hospital, have an injection myself up to primary school. my parents busy in the factory. So I were federal guys. But quite fascinating is that as I grow up and I find out, especially I've moved out of China and to England, I see the world is really big, right? And I'm getting strong. And I remember my first computer I make, and in high school, I don't know nothing about it, and I never imagined myself I can now make computers.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that is um, um, uh, uh, the thing when just like normal kid, I just don't know what I want. But now when I grow up and go up to the West, and I build up my ambitions and build up my passion about being open, we can learn from each other, and you make our life. And I'm 50. I'm closer to my career now. So that's why I like being open. Is that I can contribute back to the society. And then now you're back to the childhood. I would say that if I know that it being open is so good, then I will emphasize education back in my childhood. I want to be an open guy, open kids.
Yeah.
Just like I'm so fascinated about OpenSouthCode because you have an OpenSouthCode with kids.
Yeah.
Right? That's the special. You won't find any events talking about kids.
So thank you. This is Yuning Liang from DeepComputing. You should get to know him better, going to different, everywhere where you can find him in different congresses. He's almost in everywhere.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for being today with us and for contributing to OpenSouthCode.
And see you next year.
See you next year. Thank you.
Thank you.